Hey, what's up guys? Dylan here from Iceberg TV. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new release from Discraft. We have the ESP Zone SS. Spoiler alert, I've absolutely been loving it, but I haven't directly compared it to my Z Plastic Zone SS's yet. So we are going to do a direct comparison from the Z Plastic to the new ESP blend. The new ESP just feels really good. This is some of the best feeling ESP plastic I've ever felt. I feel like they've slowly been changing this plastic for the better over the years. ESP used to be really slick, and now it just has this really nice, like, stiff, but also grippiness to it, which I've really been loving. All right, so the Zone SS, the star of the show. I was throwing the Z Plastic one for a while. Really love it. Dead straight forehands. Like techy, kind of flippy, kind of stable backhands. This has been an absolute moneymaker for me when it comes to my upshots. It's got the lines I can throw with the Berg, but a little bit more torque resistant than the Berg, and it's gonna like pick up and want to finish a little more flat. My Berg will hold a line all the way to the ground, kind of hit and cut roll a little bit at times. These guys don't really do that as much. They want to like find their way to flat before they hit the ground. Just a tick more stability, but then that classic zone in hand feel that everybody likes. This is a brand new, never thrown Zone SS flat. That was actually a tack of hyzer. Flipping up to flat, finishing straight. It's got a nice consistent zone finish, but with like something a little flippier in the early and mid flight. I can't quite put my finger on it. So that's my first run. First run might be a little more stable than the most recent run. And now we got an ESP Zone SS. Let's really try and throw this one nice and flat. So you can see that little tack of stability that's going to actually pick it back up to the left at the end, giving us a nice flat finish. So as long as you land near the basket, it's going to land nice and flat. Not going to have any rollaways happening. Make sure you use my discount code ICE20 at bergsdiscsports.com to save you 20% on the best disc golf bag on the market. Zone SS. Seems like the Z ones might be a little bit more stable than the new ESP. I've been bagging the ESP one, but I haven't been throwing it a ton. It hasn't gotten a ton of usage yet. We just haven't really needed it. So let's give it one more set of backhands, and I'll show you guys how they've been flying on those money forehand lines for me. Just so much pushier than a zone, but still like that same torque resistance, but a little more shapeability, which is really nice when you're in the woods. You have a few more options of the different types of shot shapes you can execute with this type of zone. So you can see if you get over on it, it's going to hold that turn all the way to the ground, which is very cool. Again, showing off all the different types of shot shapes this thing can do. Let's see if it does a little hyzer flip, the new ESP. Oh yeah. Look at that hyzer flip and turn. What's funny about the zone for me, if you go back, way back to like the 4-claw Macbeth zones when I originally did a review of those, I didn't like the zone, and it wasn't something that I enjoyed bagging. But now that my game has developed, I've become a better player. I'm throwing a little bit more advanced than I used to. I'm bagging a zone and a Zone SS, so it just shows how things can change over time. Your taste can change as your skill set changes, and I've been loving it. If you want to save 10% on any disc, including the Zone and the Zone SS, use my link in the description below for discgolfdealsusa.com/icebergtv. And there are a few holes that we have in Charlotte where the basket is, say, 200 to 250 feet through a tight tunnel. And that's where these have been shining for me, is on these hyzer release forehands that basically go straight or even finish a little bit to the left. So you can just crank it through a tunnel on hyzer, and it's going to flip all the way through the gap, either finish straight or slightly to the left, which has been a really nice shot for me to have, because when I'm bagging the zone, you don't necessarily have that shot in the bag. So this is like the perfect complement to the zone. Just dead straight with a little bit of left finish. I actually want to pick the nose up and continue pushing straight, which is very cool. That's the one I bagged the most. That's the one I know the most. Let's see if we can't throw a similar line with just a brand new non-first run. So still having a nice tack of stability back to finish at the end. Hopefully that didn't just get lost in the pine needles. All right, I'm gonna crank this on a hyzer, the new ESP, and see if it flips. Flipped a lot on that last backhand. That is a driven shot right there. Threw that really hard. Not wanting to flip over and fully burn over at all, just being super dead straight, super reliable. I'm loving the Zone SS, and I think the ESP feels better than the Z, so I'm glad it's flying at least pretty similar. All right, last few throws of the day. I don't know, it's hard to say. I feel like the ESP flies pretty similar. Might be a tick less stable, but the feel in hand is so much better. The Z plastic can be pretty slick, especially as the weather starts to get colder. I really like the feel of the ESP a lot right now. I used to never say that about ESP, so Discraft has been putting in the work and improving their blends, and they definitely made a really nice, like, swirly ESP here. Something they can really be proud of. Last few throws of the day. Let's try something a little higher with a little bit more forced turn. It's a beautiful line right there. Can't do that with a normal zone. But it still has that little bit of bite back at the end, so it's not just gonna like turn into a roller on you, unless you really mess it up. Yeah, just didn't quite fight out, but still wanted to finish flat, which is what I like so much about the Zone SS. That's such a good disc. If you don't already bag one and you do bag a Zone, would highly recommend adding one to the bag. The Zone SS fits the lineup with Discraft perfectly because it gives you everything that the Zone doesn't. It's got a little bit more push, a little bit less dump, and when you think you might want a Zone, but you can't quite get the distance or the shot shape you're looking for, the Zone SS, albeit a little bit less consistent than a Zone, you're gonna open up the varying shot shapes that you can actually go for with it. And for that reason, I think it's an absolute money drop from Discraft. I'm super excited the ESP run is just as good as the Z run. Sometimes the first runs come out better than the rest of the runs, but apparently up to this point, that is not the case. They absolutely nailed the new ESP run, so shout out Discraft. Good job. discgolfdealsusa.com/icebergtv to save 10%. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and take care. That was a little hot.